welcome to Head-Royce.
Thank you.
Why don't you start out and tell us a little bit about your background so that we can understand your experience and why you're here.
My research focuses on things in the culture that undermine these academically talented, wonderful kids from living into their best selves and from really thriving. So my most recent research project was to look at the impact of technology on children.
And one of the things that I read in your book is you talk a lot about how the changes in technology use maybe over the last 5 or 10 years have really impacted family life.
Yes.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. You know, in 8 years since we've had smartphones, we have some really radically different cultural norms.
Has it only been 8 years?
It has only been 8 years. Doesn't feel like it's been forever?
Wow, yes.
So the two biggest norms, if you will, that have changed family connections are the following. The first one is that the average adult does this all the time to their kids. They will ask a question, oh, how was school, honey? Tell me about how the tests go. And then, oh, hold on, just have to check. Right? So it has become a cultural norm to be in a conversation with your child, the person you adore, but you hear that ping, it's a stimulant to your brain, and you ask them suddenly to just stand frozen in time. So the research says the average adult does this in any given day 60 to 110 times.
Oh my goodness.
So kids are living with a lot of frustration.
Yeah.
You know.
So your book is called The Big Disconnect.
Yep.
So my question is, what suggestions do you have for parents to make it the big connect?
Well, another cultural norm that I think is disconnecting kids from their parents, and kids are not happy about it, even though they might look like they're happy.
The teenager who rolls his or her eyes.
Yeah. Or the 8-year-old who says, oh, goody.
I get to play with my iPad.
I get to play with my iPad at this restaurant. One of the biggest changes is that we're not talking to each other as much, particularly at dinner. And we're handing kids these devices at every transition. In the car on the way to school, they play Candy Crush, which isn't really good for them. It's not good neurologically because it's a stimulant. It gets in the way of them preparing themselves for school, thinking whatever it is that's on their mind, talking to their parents in the car about, ooh, I hope I studied enough for my test. You know, all the little worries they tell us, they won't tell you if you're on a Bluetooth conversation yourself or if they're allowed to play a game or text. And what we see is it's very challenging because these same devices that make it possible for us to be connected to our kids and our family and the people we love the most all the time are straining our connections at the same time. So we have to learn how to be smarter about our smartphones.
So what are some very specific suggestions you would give to parents?
Well, a couple of things I would say to parents are the following. You are really a different person when your child interrupts you and you are doing email or texting than when you're not. And just think about your own tone of voice. So most of us are more angry, irritated, and annoyed. Mom, we're going to be late to school. Hold on, honey. This is important. You know, your
have to finish this email right away.
Your child's doing the right thing, right? But we're less empathic. So get up a half hour earlier than your kids.
Do your email separately.
That's right, because you really want to be a patient mom. You want to help them in that difficult transition. It's tense for everybody getting off to school. It's a lot more tense when you are distracted by your own device. The second thing that I would say is really important is try and use the time to school and from school as a tech-free time. Because that's when your kids will really tell you what's going on.
It's in the back seat when you're driving and you get to hear all of the great things that they don't have to look in your eyes and tell you.
Yes, I had a mom van for years. I loved it.
Absolutely.
You know, and you let them text or play Candy Crush, you lose it, and that's really important. And when kids are picked up at school, you know, one of the things I heard from 6-year-olds and 16-year-olds and 26-year-olds is that they feel hurt when they get in the car and they're so excited to see you and their mom or dad goes, shh, hold on, honey, I just have to finish the call. Yeah, even if it's grandma, you know, it's like, what about me? And they shut down. So another thing that's very important is a lot of us have the habit of walking into home in a conversation. And you're not coming home from work, you're bringing work home with you. So stand in the rain, much easier than Boston where I live, and I say stand in the snow, but don't walk in the house with a device. And really check in with yourself. Most adults now have a habit where they come in, they say hi, and they say, I'm just going to check email. And in our heart of hearts, we really think we're just going to check email for 3 minutes or 5 minutes.
It's like the rabbit hole.
It is the rabbit hole. The average is 25 minutes to 2 hours.
Oh my goodness.
And then if you come to dinner and your spouse is annoyed because they've had to ask you 3 times, you're not as good company because you're thinking about what you were doing. So really ask yourself, is there any reason I can't come home from work and put up an away sign for an hour and a half, and just really reconnect to my family?
You used the term that take a tech Shabbat.
Yes.
Have you done that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's a really good thing to do.
And so do you take a day off every week from technology?
I wish I did it every week. I really do. What I do every day is make sure I have time where I'm either drawing, which is a hobby of mine, or knitting little baby sweaters, or
nice.
doing something, cooking, something where I know I am being creative and I'm in a different flow state, I'm in a different mental state where I can listen to my own inner thoughts for at least an hour.
Because that's where the creativity happens.
And that's also where your brain rests. And we really, our brains need a lot more rest from tech than we're giving them.
So that's one of I guess the final question I have for you is, what can we do as schools to be both innovative and progressive in our use of technology and really use it to enhance learning, but not to turn our students into tech bots?
This is very hard because we keep learning more research about what is good learning and academic best practices with technology and what is not. And I think some of the things as a school that you need to be thoughtful about is how much time in any given class is a child on a screen, and then how does that compare to all their other classes in a day? What percentage of time during a day is a child using technology? And when they are using it, is it additive, which is very different from replacing something?
And is there a recommended amount of what percentage of their day should be?
That depends on who you listen to. That really depends on who you listen to. But if you look at the PISA research of the international studies of kids in independent schools, the less time on screens,
the deeper the learning.
The deeper the learning.
Wow, well, that's a good place to end.
So challenging.
It is, because there are all these great devices and tools and apps and programs.
There are. And I will say, I think some of the most exciting things I see going on in schools using technology are kids using videos as part of portfolio assessment, where kids are really creating things that are impossible to do in the pen and paper world, so to speak.
Kind of a more creative outlet.
Very creative, and also community building intergenerationally within a school. Kids working together on projects, little kids working with older kids, using technology to build, to create, to learn, and the Fab Lab work is fantastic.
Well, that's a little bit different, right? Because then it's like filmmaking or any kind of artistic effort rather than just one-way absorbing.
Yep, that's right. And I think the other thing that schools are doing increasingly that's really important is making digital citizenship and mindfulness and social emotional learning in the core curriculum. Technology can answer any child's question, incredibly. Technology does not know the age of the child asking it. Technology does not have your family values. They might not tell your child the same answer that you would. But there is one thing that technology cannot give this generation of kids, and it is so important. And we're seeing a decline in their development of this essential human tool, and that is the capacity for solitude.
Yeah.
To have a reflective, rich experience of their own inner life.
And not feel lonely, but enjoy being alone.
Lonely, exactly right.
Great.
Exactly
well, thank you so much. We're thrilled to have you here.
Thank you so much.